Just about every single major IP franchise, what have you, has been pilfered and grave robbed over the past decade or decade and change. Okay, I don't think that there is one left standing. The next one that is up on the chopping block is Harry Potter, and as it sits right now, like, for as big of a flop as the Fantastic Beasts movies were, they didn't really have a knock-on effect for the rest of the greater franchise. So we'll have to see what HBO does with that series. I really do hope it's good. I just question a bunch of the choices surrounding it. But going back to something else that I hold very near and dear to my heart, and specifically this year, okay, this year in particular, I've talked about it time and time again. Like, I've been just stuck in this loop where they just don't get old. It's not like they have before, but it's just, watching The Lord of the Rings and even The Hobbit, okay, like, I'll throw The Hobbit on as well, but yeah, watching them at least once a month, and then also ingratiating myself into the wider Tolkien lore. It's like, I am so glad that mythology, literature, fiction, whatever you want to call it, okay, exists. It's so rich, it's so vast, it's so amazing. I didn't even I knew that there was a lot, but I didn't realize like how detailed and how far back it goes. Like, all of it is so amazing that I've been listening to and immersing myself in over these past few months, that it's really become a passion. Whenever I'm editing videos, whenever I just have some downtime, like, I'll just throw on some lore videos and then just really get into the nitty gritty on this stuff, and it's also awesome. It's fantastic stuff. It is really ripe material for adaptation. And speaking of those adaptations, the Lord of the Rings movies, like, I probably watched them like this year alone. It doesn't sound like much, but through the entire trilogy on weekends, like 10, 12, 15, like, I've lost track at this point. And honestly, like, if I didn't have so much stuff to do and if I wasn't such a scheduled guy, I would stop everything I'm doing right now and just watch them again. They're just so infinitely rewatchable. And even as bad as the Hobbit movies are, like, there are some redeeming aspects to that stuff. And one of those things, well, it's going to get pilfered for this upcoming movie. And, well, like we have seen, what was it, last year? And it's so wild, right? There was a proper Warner Brothers, co-signed by Peter Jackson, a screenwritten by Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens movie, a proper Lord of the Rings, Tolkien mythology, a movie that came out in War of the Rohirrim, telling the story of Helm Hammerhand, one of the coolest stories that's out there. Oh, wait, and then they bastardized it with some of the worst aspects of Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh's proclivities. How, yeah, even some of the changes, now that I know the differences between the books and the movies, like, you can really see where they, were trying to push the female empowerment stuff to the forefront. But how that very much ended up rearing its ugly head with the Hobbit movies and with Tariel and the love triangle stuff, the most insufferable stuff about the Hobbit movies. Okay, Alfred's a close second, but the love triangle elf stuff, that was really bad. Okay, it ended up dragging down one of the better new characters in Thranduil that came along. But all of that pales in comparison to supplanting Helm Hammerhand in order to tell the story of his daughter they had to give a name to because she's such an inconsequential character. It's not like they haven't done great stuff before with the extrapolation on the lore, but that's an abomination. So to hear that, yes, they're going to be doing a proper live action movie, and it's going to be cast during the time when Fellowship takes place, and it's going to be bringing back a lot of characters if they're going to be properly adapting this story. It's God, because earlier this year, side note, something else that I've talked about before, when Disney Marvel did the Chairstream announcement for the different cast members that are going to be a part of and the different characters that are going to be returning in Avengers Doomsday from Marvel movies gone by. Some people were excited for it, but that hit me like a gut punch. Like, I just heard that a close family member died, that Ian McKellen was going to be coming back as Magneto. That one, oh God, I remember exactly where I was, out on a run, hearing that name being announced. I was listening to a live stream of the chairs because the chairs didn't talk. Okay, CGI hasn't gotten that good yet, especially over at Marvel. Jesus Christ, have you seen what they put out? But yeah, hearing him coming back, it's like, oh God, okay. He was already heavily damaged in the Hobbit movies. I don't even want to know, especially with the hacks that they have writing over at Marvel, what they're going to be doing to Magneto, who is another iconic character for Ian McKellen. So knowing that The Hunt for Gollum is going to be coming out and understanding what exactly that story entails, holy shit. So, okay, we could theoretically be getting more damage to Gandalf because he is outside of the titular character, going to be, ooh, yeah, it's arguable that he is the most important character to that story. Probably, but also somebody else who is yet to be confirmed for it, but is very much rumored to, and especially if, the director himself is saying this, that Lord of the Rings, the Hunt for Gollum, will be surprising, but very much part of the lore and feel of Peter Jackson's trilogy, according to Andy Serkis, who's going to be reprising his role of Gollum, somebody who did in fact make it out the other side of the Hobbit movies with his one incredible scene, Riddles in the Dark, is amazing, easily the best part of An Unexpected Journey, which I think is so tonally wacky that I probably dislike it the most of the 3 Hobbit movies, but that's another topic for another time. But I mean, okay, cool. I can have a little bit of faith in this because, at knowing how important the role of Gollum is for Andy Serkis, how he was the second unit director for, I think, all 3 Hobbit movies, at least for the last 2, as far as I know, but I'm pretty sure it was for all 3, but he was very much involved in the development of those movies, and especially, like his work in the original movie, or the original trilogy, speaks for itself, but also how he has done the audiobooks for The Hobbit and for Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King that you can go out there and buy. Like, he knows a lot about the lore. He takes these movies, he takes these films, he takes the canon very seriously, so there's a little bit of hope. But it is in fact a fool's hope, because this is the same type of rhetoric that Peter Jackson was talking when he was coming back to the franchise in 2010s to do the Hobbit movie. But yeah, Serkis has briefly commented on The Hunt for Gollum, saying that it will be surprising for fans, but the sensibility that will feel close to Peter Jackson's beloved trilogy. Serkis will direct and star in Hunt for Gollum, due out December 17th, 2027. God, reprising the role that made him a household name. Serkis played Gollum, yes, across Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, as well as in the first Hobbit film, and not in the Hobbit film trilogy, and is set to return to the character for over a decade after the Battle of Five Armies came out. Gollum's not in the Battle of Five Armies, not even referenced. I guess he is referenced because, for whatever reason, Gandalf, again, a character that is dealt tremendous damage for being so fucking stupid 60 years before the event of Fellowship, knows that Bilbo has a ring, suspects that he found it under the mountains, or under the Misty Mountains, and doesn't do anything with it because Bilbo says, oh yeah, I lost it. Like, okay, whatever, man. So yes, a little bit more background here. We're very early on in the process. We've been talking about the film for over the course of the last year. Now we're about to start a period of prep for the next few months or so. Okay, cool. So they're going to have proper prep for this. You're giving me a little bit more hope, but this just could be me coping. It is 2025 after all. And at this point in time, even if you don't factor in Rings of Power, there's more bad Lord of the Rings content than there is tremendous. I think the good still outweighs the bad, but on the balance of, strictly good movies or bad movies, if we're just going to go ahead and place, binary labels on individual projects, I think it's safe to say that there's more bad than good. But okay, I'm incredibly excited to go back and work with my friends and family in New Zealand and actually do something which is, I think, going to be surprising and very much part of the lore and the feel of the trilogy. The sensibility of it will feel, I think, close to that. And yet we're investigating in a greater depth the character formerly known as Sméagol, but mostly known as Gollum. So are they going to do because I'm wondering, right? Because if you're just going from the lore, from the source material, it's like 2 pages, okay? Now, there is a lot of stuff that goes on during that time, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, other than, yeah, it's a Hunt for Gollum. It's led by Gandalf. There are some people from both The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings trilogy that will eventually have to intertwine to properly tell this story that takes place during the time when Gandalf first suspects that Frodo has the One Ring, and then when he ends up returning, all freaky in the shadows, is it secret, is it safe? But yes, there are some adventures that happen during that time, but if they're going to be doing like a proper Peter Jackson length movie, if they're going to be doing like a 3-hour and then extended edition 3.5-hour movie, are we going to be getting Sméagol's descent into Gollum? Like that could be something, I guess. And maybe are they going to, because that could be interesting too, like his time in Mordor, and then just butt up right appropriately to when he starts tracking the Fellowship, like all of that stuff. Like I do kind of want to see it, but at the same time, if there's a chance, if there's even a 1% chance that this ends up detracting from Fellowship, because unlike the Hobbit movies that you can kind of cast out of your mind, it's like, that's just, off to the side, this is very much going to link up with the undisputed king of media, the Lord of the Rings trilogy specifically. So let's read the rest of this. Serkis' comments suggest that Gollum will be developed with the Lord of the Rings trilogy firmly in mind. I hope so, man. I hope so. And perhaps confirms that we'll be mindful of the lore established in those films. It's just, yeah, because in the books, right? Because in the books, when Frodo first gets the ring, after Bilbo leaves it for him, there's a 17-year gap that, Gandalf is gone researching the ring, okay? And then also hunting for Gollum, okay? Because his research leads him to Gollum, and then shenanigans ensue, if I'm to just keep it brief. But that's very much not the case in Peter Jackson's movies. It's very much left ambiguous how much time Gandalf is gone. Like, it just appears that he goes to Minas Tirith, and then he eventually comes back after he figures out that Bilbo did in fact find the One Ring, and it has now been passed along to Frodo, so how's he going to square that circle? Okay, so I guess that's probably what they're figuring out. Hopefully they're using this year productively. Okay, so what we do know, yes, is that it is set to have a number of famous faces return, including Gandalf. Yeah, the 86-year-old Ian McKellen. He is significantly older. He's actually closer in age when Christopher Lee filmed the Hobbit movies than he was when he filmed the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So yeah, Gandalf is going to be older than Saruman, if and when they get around to this movie. Yes, but yeah, at the time of this interview taking place, he said he'd be open to returning as a wizard so long as age didn't catch up to him. Yeah, he's 86 years old, and god damn it, man. It's just, again, like, why do you have to come back as Magneto? Anyways, Aragorn actor, yes, Viggo Mortensen, who, yeah, without too many spoilers, that's why I waffled at the beginning by saying, is Gandalf, like, the main character of that? Like, outside of Gollum, obviously, but, yeah, one of the driving forces, one of the main characters, like, it's gonna be Gandalf. Or it's Aragorn, because he's a very, very important to that, because, he ends up, finding Gollum, okay? That's why he knows, and, he's like, oh, Gollum's been tracking us since Moria, and I hope that he'd lose us along, the Anduin. It's just, I don't want these guys back, and especially, okay, because these are supposed to be guys that are supposed to be looking the same way that they did back when they filmed these back in 99, and then it ended up getting released in 2001, and here we are, when cameras roll 25 years later. This movie theoretically coming out at around the same time that the Two Towers is going to be celebrating its 25th anniversary. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm actually scared, because now we're starting to hear comments from Ian McKellen, who just over this past weekend, reveals that Gandalf and Frodo? Wait, what? Okay, to return to Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. Okay, listen. Okay, like I said, it's only been for the past couple of months that I've been immersing myself in the Tolkien lore, okay? But how does Frodo factor into this? Like, are they going to be doing more of the stuff that made the Hobbit movies just so derivative of the Lord of the Rings movies, okay, where they just need to jangle those keys, they need to just drip feed you member berries every now and again, because it was totally unnecessary for Frodo to be walking around Bag End during the opening to an unexpected journey. He didn't need to be there. It was just simply, Bilbo beginning to write an unexpected journey, and Frodo was being used as, nostalgia bait, really. So he did not have to be there, outside of, just making the audience clap and go, oh my god, it's Frodo. And so unless they do some cutaways to what the hobbits are doing during the time that Gandalf is gone, because there's other stuff that is, if you go to the proper lore instead of and then presented in the movies, Sam, Merry, and Pippin and Frodo are doing a lot of other stuff that is not even alluded to or even mentioned in the movies, but are they going to have him do that? Are the rest of the hobbits going to come back? Because, okay, like Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan still look pretty close to what they did 25 years ago, which is wild. And, like Elijah Wood doesn't seem to age for whatever reason. But Sean Astin has, let's just say he hasn't exactly aged all that well. So, yeah, for as bad as an 86-year-old and like a 60-something-year-old Viggo Mortensen are going to look, it's... Ah, boy. So, yes, Ian McKellen, the legendary actor behind Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, because he returned to you now at the turn of the tide, for God's sakes. In the original, yes, Lord of the Rings film trilogy, dropped a bombshell bit of casting news over the weekend. I hear there's going to be another movie based in Middle-earth, and it's going to start filming in May. It's going to be directed by Gollum, and it's going to be all about Gollum, McKellen teased, for the Love of Fantasy fan event in London on Sunday. The last year, yes, Lord of the Ring, Helmer Peter Jackson Jackson was announcing, yes, as producing a new live-action installment. But yes, yeah, then McKellen shocked the audience with new details, and yeah, he's looking every bit of 86 next to, yeah, he's on stage with the other hobbits. Oh, is this a reunion panel? That's interesting. Okay, cool. But yeah, I'll tell you 2 secrets about the casting. There are characters in the movie called Frodo, and there's a character in the movie called Gandalf. Oh, Jesus Christ. Smiling to himself as the crowd gasped in amazement, McKellen joked, apart from that, my lips are sealed. So sealed like the doors of Durin. Sorry, I'll stop nostalgia baiting. I say all of that, and I pondered so much about how the fuck does Frodo get thrown into this stuff? Because, yeah, it's a very simple story. It's a very, very straightforward story. Yeah, in the books, it ends up taking place over, yes, 17 years. So theoretically, there's a movie to tell there. It's just what else is going to be added over the top of this? And yeah, I'm not immediately dismissing this as it's going to be bad, but I'm just, there's been a lot of hurt recently in media, and yeah, if you're going to go ahead and do something this destructive, like other projects have in the past with other franchises, like this has a chance of hurting Fellowship of the Ring, which is not acceptable at all whatsoever. But the development of this movie, like it was talked about before, and I think it was Ian McKellen who also came out and said that it's going to be 2 movies as well. So it's like, are we going to end up running in another Hobbit situation where there's just another movie, another unnecessary film? It's too much more bloat over the top of this. Why do we got to keep doing this, man? Hunt for Gollum won't be 2 films. Yeah, but a second Lord of the Rings film is incoming. Oh, great. So what, you're going to have the Hunt for Gollum and then the release of Gollum? Is that what we're going to be doing? Because, okay, cool. If the first thing is going to be about, okay, what are the hobbits and Gandalf doing? You know, he's out researching the ring, and when Aragorn's out there trying to find and track Gollum through Mirkwood, bringing him to, you know, Thranduil's dungeons, rather, which, I mean, I would be, like, if this was a different timeline, I would very much like to see the interaction between Viggo Mortensen's Aragorn and Lee Pace's Thranduil. I think that could be amazing. And then it would also explain, you know, how Legolas and Aragorn developed this, you know, alluded to friendship beforehand. That could be pretty cool and interesting, but then you just start to see additional bloat that very much plagued the Hobbit movies, which, you know, shout out to the M4 book edit, is a very good telling, a very good 4-hour telling of the Hobbit trilogy, trimming out over half of the content right there. It streamlines the process and makes it extremely good. It's just, yeah, we're seeing the signs again, man. Earlier this year came Seismic News, yes, from Middle-earth, yeah. More Lord of the Rings films, yes, from the Peter Jackson camp. Hunt for Gollum, yeah, would be split into 2 films, yes, a rumor of which originated from the interview from, yes, Sir Ian McKellen himself, about the Lord of the Rings screenwriter Philippa Boyens. Please, yes, Philippa, please tell me about allow me to tell you about my feminist agenda. Boyens tells Empire things have got a little lost in Elvish translation. I can tell you definitely isn't 2 films. No, it's going to be one story stretched across 2 different films, because, yeah, if we have the opportunity to just nostalgia bait a little bit more, oh, look at Viggo's back. Oh, look at Ian McKellen's here. Here's Frodo. Here's Gollum. Here's the rest of the Fellowship. They will not be able to restrain themselves. And honestly, this is something that I'm simultaneously looking forward to and dreading immensely. I hope it's good. I hope beyond all hope that this is good. I'm just bracing for it to be an utter disaster. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.